Ishmael was rather rash last time. Thankfully, Captain Ahab saw her and the rest of the damned dozen as more useful alive. When they were just outside Captain Ahab's office, Rodia noticed a board, asking what's on it. Starbuck informed her that it was the number of gold coins assigned to each member of the crew, which are gained by fishing up anything useful or by hunting mermaids. Then Gregor asked who was paying them. Yeah, as a certain foul-mouthed Scottish chef would put it, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. If you pay nothing, you get all. Starbuck answered that it was the captain, obviously. Urtis asked him if he's saying that there's economic activity within the whale's stomach. Yeah, material wealth, gold or otherwise, would appear to have no value in there. I mean, where can they get these gold coins? Starbuck explained that they'd be out of there in just a little bit. Once they're out of that whale, he'll be paid 63 gold coins, which he intends to buy a half-decent ship. Well, unless inflation has gone through the roof. As far as I'm aware, taxes are strongest with firearms. As far as inflation is concerned, nothing is mentioned about that. But considering how ultra-capitalistic that society is, it's not outside of possibility. He then asked if they've been to the Marlin port ship lately, asking about the Stingray flat-top grill. Specifically if it's still open. Not to my knowledge, they have been to the Marlin port ship. In fact, they've been there on the way to eventually head to the the pallid whale. Why am I thinking about the Marlin whale? The Marlin whale's killed by the Indigo Elder. Let's see, they've been to a shady part of the Marlin port ship, fought some of the Middle's affiliates, killed the party at the Marlin Club, stole some hair salon coupons while they were there, and they didn't have time to get ice cream with fish in it. Roger thought that it was interesting, asking where it was. Yeah. Let's hope there's something for them to eat when they get back. Dante understood that Ahab was giving gold coins to her crew for their labor, the promise of reward for services rendered, understanding enough for that to be a strong motivator. Starbuck then talked to Ishmael. She really caught him off guard earlier. He didn't think that he'd find her in there, telling her that when they get out of there, they should go crash at a bar and drink rum straight from a barrel, making it a competition, just like the good old days. He then asked if she had a chance to say hello. Well, to say hello to everyone. He then noticed that he noticed that she grew her hair out. Apparently, she once said that long hair was annoying. Ishmael saw this as a lot of questions at once. She didn't think that they'd want to chat with her, based on the looks that they were giving her. Starbucks told her that people from other ships would join them. None of them lasted more than a day. They're the ones who made it that long, thanks to a solution that their captain came up with. This caught Orti's attention. Starbuck continued by saying a way to stop their bodies and minds from turning fully pallid, and Dante asking what this was. Starbuck didn't understand that, and then he said that as they can see, without their captain, they'd have long been turned into mermaids, and the village wouldn't exist. Any that dares antagonize her is the enemy, because to stand against her is to stand against their survival. Ishmael had a look of disappointment. He'd clearly changed to her. He butted heads with the captain all the time in the past. Starbuck asked if he did. She then asked grimly if he's forgotten who trapped all of them there in the first place, led them to their deaths. Then she coldly walked past Starbuck, whom she saw as little more as Captain Ahab's yes man at this point before entering the office fully. Dante asked if she knew him as an old mate of hers. Ishmael told them that he was Starbuck, first mate of the Pigwad, and not the name of a coffee chain that's likely long dead in that universe. Apparently, he wanted to be a good person to everyone. He was the closest to the crew, to the captain's ear, which is why they were squabbling often. It didn't matter in the end. Ahab was equally indifferent. So we have another functional sociopath. Yeah. She is not the first that the damned dozen have encountered, and I doubt she'll be the last either. As after Ishmael, there are 7 more trials to go through. Well, 7.5 if you count that Gregor's isn't finished yet. Then Ahab walked into the office. Excusing the state of her office, she believed a bottle of rum would have made this smoother, but she hasn't seen a single bottle float its way in. Not a single bottle at all. Otis requested Dante that she take charge of that situation. For her to take charge of that negotiation, rather. As Ishmael can't be trusted to make a rational decision, at least not in her current mental state, and Dante has certain communication issues. Dante okayed this. And just as Otis was about to start, Ahab was quickly able to figure out that they rode in there voluntarily in search of something that the pallid whale devoured. Yes. Also, they found a way to stop themselves from turning into mermaids. Otis failed to see the point in hiding it, when they've already come this far. Don Quixote loudly told her that they're on a search. They're in search of a certain object. Its appearance was... Now, she started to explain this, as if she was hoping that Ahab would produce it from her pockets. Dream on, nutcase. Since when was it this easy? Well, it's certainly not been that easy so far, or have you forgotten the pummeling that you received from Ricardo? Gregor was nervous of her telling Ahab everything. He'd feel more comfortable discussing this between them first, but Ahab was ahead of them with that as well. They're looking for a golden stick of sorts, asking if she's wrong. Now, this surprised Gregor, which Dante understood that... denying this now would be pointless. Ahab knows where to find it. She can even bring them to it. Otis wasn't trusting of Ahab's words, which was wise on this occasion. Sinclair was nervous, but he asked what if she just overheard while they were talking. Ahab then went on to describe that the branch emanates a very far-reaching golden light. Its glow was Its glow was warm and bright, yet not bright enough to be blinding. Faust agreed that she knows of a golden bar. This is more than what an unrelated individual should be able to know. Urtis still distrusts her regarding that she's really about to tell them where it is. Ahab displayed anger, shouting at Urtis, as she presumes that she wouldn't part with that information. She has nothing to hide! She then slammed the desk and leaned aggressively towards them. She had a knowing grin, as she knew exactly what they wanted, and what they're about to say to get it. She then spoke plainly. She has nothing to hide from them. They are the ones withholding things from her. Knowing that stick is the golden bar, it's in the dead center of the whale. Honglu was thinking about this. Ahab continued by saying that the epicenter of the deep, resonating thumping, the spring of life that fuels that beast, the heart that seeps with all the evil in that world. Well, not all of it, you just don't see it in yourself. Dante realized what this meant, that they had similar business. Ahab told them that they're fortunate. The Pequod has set course for that very same destination. They plan to set sail in the very near future. The only way out is destroying that heart. Honglu saw this as interesting, asking if it's just a coincidence. Those happen every day, Honglu. Doesn't mean we should trust it. Sinclair asking what was so interesting about it. Honglu then asked if it was interesting that, after all those years of preparation for their journey to the heart, they just happened to arrive as they're about to set sail. Ahab saw this as the threads of fate. Yes, the threads of fate being weaved, so that she would be the one to pierce the heart of the pallid whale. She set sail in that beast, more than the combined number of gritted teeth. She knows the territory well. She's attempted many ways to pierce its hide. Sadly, it's as thick and impenetrable as Arcorp's fortress. All the weapons in the world wouldn't be able to pierce it. Yes, not even if they had decent firearms. Although I suspect that if the head or the claw want to destroy them, they could just teleport inside and the eye wouldn't need to physically interact with them. They could just evict them into the outskirts. Yes, there are less direct ways of dealing with those defenses. Although I can understand why such a fortress would be needed, to protect the very nature of its singularity. And that singularity being that which makes it possible to have them make a clone army. Queequeg told them that she tried to stab it with her harpoon. Wound it, yes. Puncture a hole, no. Ahab told them that they're welcome to try themselves if they don't believe her. Don Quixote admitted that her own attempts barely left anything. Rodia understood that if she's right, then it wouldn't matter what the Indigo Elder did, or even what the After Team did. They wouldn't be able to get them out of there, regardless of their efforts. Ahab told them that they know better than anyone the crushing pain of surviving in a place such as that with no hope of rescue. No sane mind survives such torment for so long. Well, you're perfectly safe then, as you're not sane. and that was before you were swallowed up by it. Yet her pitiful crew held on to their sense of self as the pallid membrane attempted to devour them. Queequeg said nothing there. Nothing. None. Which implied they had a lack of resources. Ahab then told them that they could do nothing but scavenge what they could. Finding what's washed up to its stomach. Mermaid corpses being their only food. Queequeg said, fins, soft. Roger asked them how they survived there. According to Starbuck, it's faith. The faith that as long as they follow their captain, she'll eventually lead them out of there. That's the hope that they hold on to. Ishmael had a dark look. She could see through this. Ahab recommended that she give her offer a listen. She's the captain of the Pequod, leader of the Pequod town, and she has a responsibility to bring every single one of her crew home, which is why she made that offer to them. She will destroy the pallid whale's heart. She's prepared a long time for this. All that remained to be done was to set the plan into motion. Their business was similar, but each had different aims. Telling them to assist her in her plan, and they'll hunt that whale and escape. The golden bar would be theirs. Otis then told her that they need to discuss this amongst themselves first. Ahab told them to take as much time as they want with a generous smile. They huddled in one corner of her office to discuss this. Massault told them that the boat that they used to get inside is now beyond saving. They need a new one to escape that whale and also to move across the bodily fluids of it to investigate the interiors. Otis understood that they'd need to take their vessel. Sinclair told them to keep quiet about that. They can hear them. Queequeg told them that their ship, hard to sail, complex. Only Pequod crew can handle Pequod boats. This confirmed that they were too loud to Sinclair. Otis then asked how long it would take to build a boat from practically nothing. Faust told them that they don't have any materials, and there's also the consideration that it needs to be resistant to the whale's acid. Her estimated time of completion would be... Dante stopped her, as they could guess that it would be more time than they had. Faust agreed. Ishmael asked Ahab if that's her offer, smelling her bull coming from a mile away, not changing one bit. Driving people to their deaths with what seems plausible but is in fact insanity. Sinclair has also noticed that there was something off about her, suggesting that it might be better to take their chances by themselves. Heathcliff agreed with him. He doesn't trust something that requires too much explaining. Onglu thinks that they spent a long time building a plan to destroy the heart and escape, asking if they could do it on their own. There's also the worry that they might not hold out in the whale. Roger understands that Ahab knows the place better than anyone. Yes, better than anyone. Gregor understands that the options available to them are turn into mermaids and kill each other, or remain trapped there forever, asking if they're the only alternatives. Don Quixote believed that Virgilius, the Red Gaze, wouldn't abandon them, crying her eyes out. Well, to be honest, he'd likely get annoyed and go, right, let's look for another 13 to try this again with. It took us this long to get this far, what's a couple more years? Although it would be another personal loss if I'm right about who Dante was. Ryushu noted that they're having trouble coming to an agreement. She will mediate. They should battle to the last person standing and have them decide. The damned dozen were all expressing their opinions, all dramatically opposed to each other. No hope of meeting in the middle. Dante was unnerved by how easily Ahab could see right through them. Ahab sees that they're having, trouble coming to an agreement amongst themselves. Seeing it is quite understandable. The answer is clear and right in front of them. Her offer is perfect for their present, rather desperate situation. A solution was clearly before them. Seeing it as the whims of fate, seemingly implausible, these coincidental opportunities are what the threads of fate weaving the path ahead of them. But they must learn to be someone who grips their destiny when it presents itself, seeing it as common wisdom for any seafarer. This made Sinclair shudder a little. He's definitely met her kind of psycho before. Certainly the one that ruined his life. Although in this case, it's thinking about the various moments of past coincidences that must have passed before all of their eyes. When they were almost sandwiched between two ships. When they encountered the mermaids on the deserted ship. When they fought a whale and its byproducts that came from the waves. Ishmael, based on Ahab's arrogant, all-knowing speeches, seeing them as not changing one bit, telling her not to delude herself. She's not joining hands with her again. Even now, she can't wait to chew her up and tear her apart. This only amused Ahab. Her face and words, seeing this as Ishmael talking like a proper sea dog, worth her salt. Ishmael didn't think that she remembered her name. Apparently Ahab did. She heard her voice moments before the whale swallowed her and the others whole. The echoes of her voice calling her name, scattering to the winds amidst the desolation. It was heard clearly as low as was yesterday. Ishmael was silent at this, that brief moment, through that tempest. Their eyes met and she peered into the depths of her heart, into the depths of her true desire. Ahab then strode towards Ishmael, who glared at her with bloodshot eyes. Ahab told her that she'd give her what she wanted, speaking in a low, personal voice. Being honest with this, Ishmael wanted to see what kind of she came up with this time. Because she wants what she wants, as Ahab completed that sentence, is her heart. This surprised Ishmael. Ahab saw herself as the first and the only person who watched the birth of her life's greatest wish, awakening deep within her, a hateful obsession, screaming and thrashing with frenzy so that she may one day gut her herself. That same desire brought her before her, past the trials and tribulations the world has thrown her way, asking if she's wrong. Ahab was aware that Ishmael didn't give a about the golden bar. Well, she did make that clear earlier. Ahab knows that her heart, literally, is what she's after. The treasure that she seeks to plunder at the end of her journey. She knows deep inside that she's an excellent sailor and harpooner. From the moment of their reunion until now. She's been stabbing her over and over again in her mind. She's not once averted her eyes. Were she a whale, she'd willingly give her heart to kill. Ishmael found that hard to believe. Ahab told her that she knows better than anyone that she wouldn't lie. She knows where her accumulated passion has set course to, pleading with her to help her to destroy that whale's heart, and she'll willingly give her life. It doesn't matter how she'll end her, she'd accept it gladly. Ishmael then started laughing. Then Ahab snatched her weapon and brought it close to her throat, Ahab asking if she wished to tear open her arteries, wanting to make her task easier for her, turning her neck so that her veins were plain to see. All that's hers, as long as she achieves her goal, complimenting her on her keen harpoon that she whistled, imagining the night she spent sharpening it, drawing a picture of her painful demise. She's been feeling the call of destiny, her fate, just as she has. None understands her better than she does. Her longing, her burning hatred that consumes her for days. Ishmael tells her that she's right, that she's barely holding herself back from tearing into her arteries. Ahab noted that despite knowing this, she doesn't act. She stays silent. Ahab told her that even now, even as the tip of her razor-sharp harpoon tickles the fuzz on her neck, she knows the truth, that she's still too weak to kill her. Seeing this as pitiful and yet so clever, she knows her place. Seeing this as serving her well, a foolish sailor would not have accepted that generous offer of hers. As long as she can kill the pallid mermaid with her own hands, well, the pallid whale, the mermaids will be in the way. She cares not about what happens to her. Her heart is, well, it's Ishmael's to harpoon. Yes, the heart is Ishmael's to harpoon, and she would be made complete at that moment, and she wouldn't care less what happens to her after. Ah, so she's also a straw nihilist. Then Ishmael started laughing like she's a mad person. Dante, noting that she's not biting back with her tongue, nor did she sharply and rationally criticize Ahab's words, as she did theirs. She kept laughing like she's lost her mind. Ahab liked that look in her eyes. She already saw it. She might have already heard her response from what look Ishmael was displaying. Ishmael agreeing with her, telling Ahab to enjoy her last voyage, telling her to survive until the end of it. To destroy the whale's heart, and she'll happily destroy her the moment that she becomes complete. Ahab then laughed manically, seeing the eyes of a proper sea dog, conviction burning in her eyes. She won't disappoint her, telling her to allow her heart to beat like the very tempest, her heart to bleed hotter than the boiling blood of the lava whale, so that it might be a worthy target for her harpoon. The lava whale. Well, if the Indigo Elder survives this, he might need to invest in some cryotech to counter that one. Although it's unclear if that is one of the calamities that are still around. All Ishmael could do was laugh manically. Dante felt a sense of overwhelming dread from the pair's laughter, mad as it was. Neither Dante or the others dared to intrude. Their laughters were very much alike. Dante wasn't sure whose laughter belonged to Ishmael or Ahab. Dante wasn't sure what they were thinking at that point. It wasn't like they had any other choice, but Dante was hoping that Ishmael would refuse their offer. A little after that, Starbuck found out that they're joining them for the journey to the heart. Seeing that is nice. It's encouraging to have them. Those likely-looking people along for the ride. Yes, lively, rather. Not a hint of the pale membrane on them. He asked how they're unaffected by the pallidification effects, when Don Quixote, who at this point was not the most mentally deranged of the damned dozen, tried to tell him. Gregor stopped her from speaking, saying it's a long story, they just happened to be lucky and to leave it at that. After that bout of insanity, outside of the captain's office, Ahab told them that there are tasks that must be completed if they are to reach the heart. 2 ships, 2 routes. They must go their separate ways to reach the heart. The pickwad would make its way through the pancreas, as in the organ that makes enzymes that break down sugars, fats, and starches. You know what insulin is? As in that which regulates blood sugar levels. That's one of them. When the pancreas doesn't work normally, that's when diabetes happens. It's why those that are diabetic need to take insulin. I know this because I have a cousin that has that medical condition. Ahab allowed it. Ryushu asked why they were going through the pancreas. Ahab told her that it was vast and treacherous. More treacherous than you? Well, that's quite an achievement. Acid was a hazard there. Going in there without knowing when and where the acid would spew from is to dance with death. She brought those that have toiled there for years, not inexperienced landsmen such as them. Starbuck shrugged next to the captain, leaving them to brew on this. She also mentioned that it was heavily populated with mermaids, where it's better that them, the sailors who have spent their entire lives hunting mermaids and whales, take that route. Where they aren't particularly powerful or troublesome, the numerical advantage would still be useful in that path. At the end of the pancreas, they'd hew open its largest vein, then its left heart atrium would open to supply blood to that area. Gregor then asked her what about them. They'd take the other path, the right heart atrium connected to the lungs. It's a narrow path, so a smaller vessel would serve them well. Besides other things that made their way into that path that they'll send them from. Well, these things are neither whale nor mermaid. Their numbers are small, but each of them may pose a difficult fight. Faust understood what she was talking about. Ahab continued by saying, while their numbers are fewer, what they have will make up for their individual prowess. Shining in targeted strikes, not all-out battles that the crew of the Pequod would face. If they weren't there, she would have sent Starbuck, Queequeg, and at least 8 other good crew members that way. A boat divided would have a higher chance of failing. It was a concern of hers, but their arrival was fortunate. Seeing destiny as fickle. Faust then spoke of what Ahab was referring to, the abnormalities that were swallowed up by the pallid whale when it devoured the Lobotomy Corporation branch facility. Ahab was overjoyed by them being familiar with the abnormalities, seeing their encounter ordained by fate. The same destiny leading them to the heart. Kill all the monsters there, hew open the arteries, and the right atrium shall open. They will meet again at the heart where the atriums meet. They shall enter and destroy its core, the heart of the heart. This confused Don Quixote. Ahab noting her confusion and her inexperience dealing with whales. Dante was asking if it was supposed to be obvious. Ahab proclaiming that the sun will shine on them again, only when they destroy the heart beating with the very essence of evil. Through the whale's sundered flesh shall the gentle light reign over them. And Ishmael she'll impale her with the final harpoon to end her breath once and for all. Ishmael briefly laughed. Urutis commented that while she was unfamiliar with the analysis of the geography of that entity, the general structure of the plan appeared sound to her. Dante agreed. It was clear to Dante that Ahab really did check every nook and cranny of the whale, all with the single desire to hunt and kill the pallet whale. It's taken this long for this plan to be enacted. Heathcliff didn't like it. They're supposed to listen to some dodgy captain's orders, asking if Dante was supposed to be their boss. Wait, you saw Dante as your boss? I thought they were a glorified field medic and emotional punching bag to you. I mean, the seagulls likely command more respect than they do. Heathcliff suggested that they finish this with their own hands instead of relying on her. Do it themselves. Let one or two go mad and turn into mermaids. But at least it would be their work. Urutis saw this as irresponsible. If the estimated losses were higher than just one or two of them, she'd be the first to suggest that. He asked, why didn't she? It was because they have a significant disadvantage. Yes, a significant disadvantage regarding the battlefield info. Dante might be at risk at any moment. She made it clear that not even witless rookies risk or gamble with the lives of their superiors. All that for his pride, calling him a fool. This was mildly annoying to Heathcliff. But by his standards, his reaction was actually quite restrained. As far as Ishmael was concerned, as long as they destroy the heart, she can end Ahab, gritting her teeth and repeating that like a mantra, to make sure that she didn't forget, not even for a moment. Ahab then told them that they'll meet again at the rendezvous point. Let them be those of a good voyage. Yes, a good voyage for them all. Queequeg then was silent. Ahab said that the sun was within their grasp to her dearest crew. They shall soon breathe deep the metallic, treacherous stench of the city's air. Holy! That sounds worse than the air quality of some of the largest cities in our world. Certainly in cities around the Indian subcontinent. They're the ones with some of the worst air quality at the time I uploaded this. Clearly surviving active threats take priority over dealing with environmental hazards. It truly is Greenpeace hell. They were provided with a boat that would take them to where they needed to go. Queequeg told them, only Pequod crew steers Pequod boat, so she steer. She wasn't kidding. The boat was unlike anything they've seen. The body was made of flesh and bones, with a few pieces of metal plates visible between the organic materials. Dante and the damned dozen wouldn't be able to use this as well as the Pequod crew, if at all. Ishmael stared wordlessly at Queequeg. During their journey into the heart, or rather to the heart, confessing to her that she thought that everyone died. Queequeg said that she too also thought she dead. Where she was, she buried dead people. No burning, in earth, in hearts, deep never to dig up again, because they have to forget. Ishmael asked if she buried her too. Queequeg didn't answer and said she wanted to see sunset again. That keeps her going, breathing, throwing harpoons. Ishmael thought that she didn't like the outside world. Queequeg said, sunset, always warm, wherever it sets. Ishmael didn't know how to answer that. Then Dante heard a terrifying cry, coming from far away. Ishmael understood this to be the mermaid's cry. Queequeg made it clear about their future. That would be their future if they failed to escape. Cry and cry, trying to kill all they see, then melt very slowly and later float away like they were never there. She didn't want to be mermaid. The pallid whale, have to kill it. Only then they get out. Then Dante had another vision of Ishmael, likely because of the growing influence of the Golden Bar. That it's becoming more frequent, that this is happening. Crying was heard every night. A terrifying cry echoing from the holds. In the vision of the past, Starbuck told Pip that it was his turn to go down there. Ishmael remembered that the mermaids cried every single night, so they had to lock them deep in the holds. Pip told him that he didn't want to go down there. It's scary. Starbuck told him that it's the luck of the draw. He had to accept it. Ishmael asking Queequeg if it was weird. Why are they doing any of that? Then we see that Queequeg had some oddly familiar tattoos. She told Ishmael, steal herself, they'll see pallid whale soon, which means all this be over. Soon. Ishmael repeated those words, although it was unclear if it's her own belief or she was doing this to not stand out. She then spoke of when the voyage was over. Then Ahab appeared and asked what that mess was. Can't those deckhards even man their stations properly? Pip told the captain that he doesn't want to go down there. He's scared to death. It's so scary down there. Every night he hears. Every night he scratches at the locked door from inside the hold. Ahab told him to get a hold of himself. That's just a mermaid. Pip insists that he knows. He saw. It was Stubb. The pallid whale ate Stubb and the boat that he was on, and Ahab told him to turn away from the sound of the holds and look beyond the great lake. The pallid whale's reckoning drew near. The louder the mermaid cried, the closer they were to their goal. So they're using the mermaid as a way of determining how close they were to the whale that devoured it. Ahab made that much clear. Ishmael had her doubts, and that night she snuck into Captain Ahab's quarters, which was like breaking a taboo to enter them without reason. It was an unwritten rule among sailors. If she was caught, she'd accept any punishment that they decided to give her, as this might as well be a mutiny. She didn't know what she was thinking when she walked in there. She talked to Captain Ahab, who didn't seem to pay much attention to her, as the captain had her eyes locked onto a map of the Great Lake, stuck to the ceiling of her quarters, made up of nailed-down pieces of paper and her own blood. She didn't stir. Ishmael looked at this for a moment and then stumbled out of there. Starbuck remarked on what she just did. Ishmael was fearful of the punishment that she was expected to receive, but apparently Ahab was never able to sleep, as even when she sleeps, she keeps her eyes wide open, looking for the pallid whale, even in her dreams. Even in her dreams, she's not asleep. She's always awake. Well, no wonder she's lost her mind. Ishmael said that on the prequel, the captain had a tight leash on them. Around them, rather. Gasping on what little air she permitted them. Then Starbuck told her to go get some rest as the pallid whale's getting close. He doesn't always understand Ahab, and he sometimes wishes that she entertained better ideas. But they won't have to suffer more of that. They'll all be free soon, once they kill it and leave that ship. Little did they know that they would be trapped with her for who knows how long. All except Ishmael, who would be haunted by what was to follow. Queequeg saw what was ahead as not a mermaid, not whale, monster from other outskirts. Faust corrected her by saying that it's an abnormality, telling her as much. It was once contained within the Botany Corporation branch, but the pallid whale devoured them. Queequeg saw similar things before, but not abnormality. Different. Faust confirmed this. In the outskirts, anything within the realm of possibility was there. She found it credible that she might have encountered similar entities in the outskirts. Queequeg asked abnormalities born how? She told her that they were once human, created by humans as a new source of energy. Queequeg said they had wishes, looks like. Faust noted that she asked if they had specific wishes or desires, trying to word it in a way that can be understood. Queequeg then confirmed that, asking they know what they want, what they desire, what they wish. Gregor told her that wants and desires are all they have left. Queequeg replied, "Must be nice, knowing what you want, knowing what you desire." She then kept scratching at her arm as her eyes remained fixed on the abnormality. She was scratching so hard that the blood and pale gunk was starting to seep into her torn skin. Ishmael told her to stop, she's bleeding, asking if she's still doing that. Queequeg said, "Born again, cocoon, couldn't become one." Then they fought the Ambling Pearl, a War level abnormality that was encountered in the Mirror Dungeon, the fort space of the abnormalities, but in this case it was quite aggressive. A giant clam with hands and feet that spewed out corrosive muck, poisoning those exposed to it. It ate the green slime to replenish its strength. It could take a lot of beating, until forced to open its shell, exposing its weak spot, the pearl. I'll go over the full info on it in the Season 3 Abnormalities lore video, but with Dante's leadership, they were able to suppress it and continue on their journey to the heart of the pallid whale. As for why Queequeg didn't participate in this, she was at the helm, waiting for them to be done with dealing with the abnormality before moving on. You'll just have to wait until the next part of this lore series in order to find out why Queequeg was scratching. Until next time, hail the rabbit!